Tommy, our next guest is the incredible Stephen Rea.
Good evening.
Well,
Well,
sit down there now. It's like a before and after. How are you?
I'm okay. How's yourself?
Going through phases, I think, with this particular thing of I kind of get a good 3 or 4 days and then a bad 3 or 4 days, and you know. How about you?
Well, this time last year I was facing a wonderful year, you know, a couple of series, one in LA, one in Spain, and they both had to be postponed.
Yeah.
I always used to say, which might offend people, but if you live in Ireland, you need a door marked exit, you know. You know, it's not, you know, just after a while, it's lovely, it's great, but you need to get out and...
But you probably only know that if you've gone through the door.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You might know that you need 3 weeks in California or a month in North Africa until you've gone there.
I know.
You know, that kind of a way that...
Well, if somebody says to you, do you want to do a film that's in Bolivia or in... And you say, for sure. You don't read the script. You know, I'm going to go there, you know. So if you're working with, you know, your co-conspirators in the movie industry, it's fabulous, you know.
I didn't realise until past year or so, maybe that kind of the turbulence of parts of your life. I have a huge interest in theatre.
Yeah.
And I'd be reading then about the starting up of Field Day.
Mm-hmm.
And just the kind of with Seamus Heaney and Brian Friel.
Seamus Dean.
Yeah, just
yeah, Tom Kilroy, Tom Paulin, another poet, yeah.
I'm taking plays and opening them in Derry.
Well, the big thing seems to me about theatre, I mean, you can put on plays anywhere, and it can be a great production and everything, but the context of where you put the play on is vitally important. And in 1980, we restated theatre as a medium for change, not because the plays were aggressively nationalist or...
Yeah.
But the story they were telling was to the right audience. And so people used to come to me after that and say, I've never been in the theatre before, you know. I thought the Translations by Friel was a great play, you know, and it meant something.
And I also didn't know that you were a Church of Ireland.
No, I'm not anything.
But were you born into a Church of Ireland family?
No, I was born into a non-religious family.
Ah.
I know that's very hard to say, but I mean, I must say, one of the things that upsets me is when people, oh, he's an Ulster Protestant. I'm not. And actually, I got married at the high altar in Armagh Cathedral, which you can't do that if you're...
So you're saying a non-religious family?
Well, I never saw them in a church. They didn't care.
Were they academics?
Not in the slightest.
So it wasn't like they were coming from...
No, they weren't coming from a notion, like, they weren't like your man Dawkins or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
No.
Dick Dawkins.
Well, no, my parents both left school at age 14 because that's... And me and my sisters were the first of our family ever to go to third level education.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I joined the Abbey as soon as I left university. I was there for a couple of years before I went to England.
I also didn't know until I watched the Dolores documentary.
Well, I didn't see that, Tommy.
Yeah.
Deliberately, and I never will, you know.
But my mother died the same way Dolores did.
I heard that. I'm so sorry, yeah.
So I had a kind of even though I would be entirely unconnected to the politics of the situation, you know, and but I had a kind of an empathetic reaction to the situation that she might have found herself in,
of course,
coming towards the end, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
drama has found you. I don't mean that in a flippant way because I've lived through part of it, but
drama has found me. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, my father was an alcoholic and drank himself out of a job, and we started moving around, you know, to survive and everything. So I had that kind of drama, which is deeply, deeply upsetting if you're young, you know. And then, strangely, I married someone who was so troubled, you know. But look, you know, the North of Ireland was formed 100 years ago, 1920. Wasn't meant to be a nice place for Catholics to live in, you know. It wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be a very uncomfortable place. So when it came to 1950 and Dolores was born, it wasn't that long since the state was formed, and you might have expected troubles, you know. And for a sensitive person like her, it was very tough, yeah.
How much were you aware of when you were courting and getting married that
she was an alcoholic?
Not even that she's an alcoholic, but I suppose that she was in trouble.
She masked it very, very, very well at the beginning because she came out of prison. I've never talked about this before, by the way. She came out of prison after 8 years, and how could she be anything but destroyed, you know? And but she masked it very well, and we were both at a stage in our life where we had missed some years because of, in my case, relationships that weren't going anywhere, and we both wanted children. In the end, we had 2 sons, which have brought me intense happiness, you know. And the great thing about the lockdown is that I've been with the boys in my house for basically a year, and it's been actually great.
I want to ask you about the IRA. And just the, I suppose not many of us would have had the contact that you have had with them. And do you have a sense of resolution about where we are now?
Well, somebody said to me today, an Englishman, everybody in England is talking about United Ireland, you know. I don't know if that's true. I don't think everybody here is, but you know, the modern IRA, the 1968-69 thing came out of the civil rights movement. You know, we were all civil rights people, and then when the attempted pogrom happened, all these guys were just saying, I've had it, you know. And there were no guns in Falls Road at that time, so. There were some people that I knew that I grew up with. They didn't come from a Republican background or anything. Dolores did come from a very Republican background.
My sense of when the bits of work that I do up north is that we have so much in common with the Unionists. Do you know, we have an Irishness in common. We have And my sense of it is that if we can tolerate people from Cork, we can live with the unionists, you know.
Of course you can. I mean, of course, it's just that. Listen, the northern farmers know they want to, they want to stay in Europe. They want all that, and it could work very well.
Yeah.
I hope, I hope.
Are you a sad man?
Well, I suppose the old face makes you think that, doesn't it? No, I was very a very cheeky, happy child, and then, when you live in a house with a war going on, I mean, not the troubles, the marriage war, you become a bit grieved, don't you? And, but I got out of it, and I went and did the acting and loved it, So,
Yeah. I'm just that sense of if you're the war zone of the home. In what way do you think that you carried it? Like, would it be in a always, in a weird way, always seeking to be in relationships that don't quite work in order to kind of still be living in that
maybe
fractured dynamic or something?
Well, that's very profound of you to say that.
Is that too? I'm a great man for theory.
Mostly they don't work, so it's...
Yeah.
And maybe I'm embracing that rather than... I don't know how to make them work anyway. It's, Sure, I'm nearly done now anyway,
What kind of women do you like?
Oh, I see. Well, I like a wide variety of them, but I don't know.
Do you like women's company? Like,
I love women's company. You see, I was brought up in a house with 5 women: my grandmother, my mother, and 3 sisters, and the father in the pub. So I was the only son. So I think I do like them, and I get on very well with them. And that's why I like theatre, because there's a lot of women around there, very intelligent women, and yeah, but I can't. I must say the marriage was so destructive in many ways that I can't. I'm not rushing into anything,
When you say the marriage, you mean
to Dolores?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Never talked about this before, in this kind of setting, but the thing is, she was very funny, very literary, very, my 2 guys have wonderful vocabulary, which a lot of that comes from her, and she just wasn't able, just wasn't able.
I get the sense from Dolores that there was kind of, no more than my own mother, but for entirely different reasons, kind of, she was being, it's like some people have wolves inside them that don't stop howling, and sometimes the only way to stop them howling is through drink and medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did a point come where you would say, I can't stop those dogs?
Yeah, of course, and it happened over a period of time, but I read a piece in the paper where a mother, had to get her son, who was an addict, to leave the house. And she said, until the addict leaves the house, nobody is going to get any better. Nobody's going to get better. And I cut it out, and I kept it and reminded myself of it all the time. That's a mother putting her own son out of the house, you know. And I had to negotiate a separation. I mean, I got her a house and everything. And it wasn't just to save myself, it was to save everybody. It was to save the boys as well.
God be good to them. Like, I mean, it's. I don't mean that as it seems like the appropriate thing to say. For your Dolores and for my mum, you kind of say, God be good to them. Like, you know, they suffered and they may have caused suffering, but nobody suffered as much as they did.
No, exactly.
Do you know? So.
And she gave you life, and she gave my boys life.
Yep.
And that's the biggest thing in my life, is that we had them.
Yeah, yeah. And you've also had to accept the fact that you earn your living on the road. I remember you came to a show that I did in Vancouver one night.
I did, yeah.
And we were chatting about it afterwards, and I was kind of struggling with being on the road.
Yeah.
And you were just saying, that's our life. But you seem to have come to an acceptance of it, which I haven't.
Oh, no, well, it is our life, yeah. I mean, I know it's not good for things, you know. I used to say to Dolores, I used to say, it's just another hotel, you know. There's nothing. But it is what I chose to do, and it became a very good life for me, you know, and I was doing very good films, and it's a huge thing to do, and that's what you're living when you're doing it. You're not living anything else. You couldn't dream of it. You're eating for the evening, you know.
Yes.
You're not, and
Not great for the school run.
no. Well, then I stopped working to do the school run for a while, you know, because, but it's not good for the school run.
Yeah.
But then there is a war between art and, if I'm allowed to call it, art and the bourgeois lifestyle, isn't there? There really is. And it drives the non-artists mad.
How have you passed the time over the past year in terms of...
Well, I haven't been as hard-working as I should have been. I thought I should be learning more Irish, and I should be doing lots of things. And I'm supposed to be writing some class of a memoir, and I just found I got a bit sluggish. But when the weather was really nice, we planted stuff in the garden, me and the guys, you know, and some native oak trees and things, and it was a great pleasure, you know. You know. So I did that, and we spent a lot of time together, and I very much appreciate that time, you know.
Yeah. Are you going to have to investigate all part of what we've been talking about tonight again for the memoir? Is that...
Oh, yeah, I wasn't ever sure that I was going to talk about my marriage or anything in the memoir, but and it's inevitable, I suppose. But there's a lot to do, you know. There's a lot there that we haven't talked about. But,
Yeah.
you know, because I mean, you know, there's Beckett. I worked with Beckett, and I worked with Pinter, and I worked with Sam Shepard, and those are kind of the major playwrights of my time, you know.
What was the Beckett play?
Endgame.
And who were you in Endgame?
Clove.
The fella doing all the running around?
Yeah. Yeah. You should play that. You'd be good at Beckett.
Yeah. I often feel I have the wrong accent for Beckett.
No, your accent's fine for Beckett.
Really, because when you hear Jack McGowan and...
Oh, Jack is great.
And Barry.
Jack is the greatest. I played his role in Endgame because he unfortunately died. But Jack gave me my first job in London in an O'Casey play, and I was very, very attached to him. And then when he died, they offered me his part in that thing, which was massive for me, you know. And Beckett was there and in the rehearsals and everything.
How tall would you say he was?
Beckett?
Yeah.
Huge. No, I think he was a wee bit taller than me, I think. But and Ham was played by the great Pat McGee, you know, from Armagh. Great actor. These were, you know, the Irish were great at Beckett, and Beckett knew it, you know. And
did you find when you were sitting with Beckett that it was too big an event for you to be able to relax into it?
yes, of course. But he was an adorable man, Beckett, and great man for a drink, and very kind and very thoughtful, and wouldn't say a bad word about you. You know, he was great. He was great. Loved him.
How come? How come?
I loved him. Well, he was so brilliant and so kind and so interested in people, you know. There was a lighting guy there that he took to very much and used to come in early and just sit and talk to him in the stalls. He'd come in and find him, and he'd, you know, he wasn't this. He may have been the great literary figure to the rest of the world, but he wasn't for himself, you know.
We have to finish.
I suppose so. It's gone on forever. I hope you don't mind me wearing a scarf.
Well,
I noticed you were wearing one the
Yeah.
other night when I saw the show.
I'm more threatened by your hair than your scarf.
Well, this is because I haven't cut it in the whole year. Normally, I only cut my hair when I'm working, so I haven't been working.
Suits you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show, Stephen.
It's an absolute pleasure, Tommy. Thank you so much.